Raleigh Score, in conjunction with Shaw University, introduces. Are you ready to start your own business? We are excited to have you join us on this 13-week journey. Our goal is to provide you with a consistent message and a solid methodology. Our approach is simplistic in nature. Therefore, we believe if you are committed and willing to do the work, you will come away from this program confident that your business plan is solid. In today's session, for your convenience, we will perform a review of the information and concepts we've provided in the last 11 weeks. Jay Graves will lead the discussion. As with all of the program sessions, this session is extremely informative and moves rather quickly. So, pause the video at any point to further review the content. And do not hesitate to ask questions via email to Patty Williams. So, as always, please find a quiet space and be prepared to take copious notes. If you have any questions, please email them to patty.williams@scorevolunteer.org. Enjoy the training.
Okay, all right. Well, we made a bit of a change up this evening, everybody. So originally we were going to be establishing a system of accountability, but we decided that what would be better is to review what we've done over the last several weeks since the start of the sessions. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the deck that we provided that anybody can use if they want to use this as your business plan pitch deck, either for your own organization or for presentations you're going to do to banks or partners or whatever. So we're going to go through this. We're going to keep it pretty organic tonight because this is your opportunity to ask questions and anything that maybe you need to clarify as we go through this. So, and then next week we have people that are presenting our business plan. I saw that Patty identified those that are going to be presenting, and I believe sent a message out today to those individuals. And then we're going to celebrate our successes and talk about how to handle those setbacks that we're going to have when we are business owners and entrepreneurs, and finding a supportive community to round out the session. So we'll go ahead and get started for tonight. So really the first slide for the business plan is the business concept. And this is just basically where you're going to summarize what it is that your business does, essentially, you know, whether your technology or your concept, what's the strategy that your business is based on. So essentially, this is a summary of what it is that you do. So if you remember back that when we talked about, you know, your values and your mission and, you know, what it is that your organization does, maybe how it differentiates itself from others, all that is what you would put here in a nice little summary so that somebody could essentially read this front page and understand what it is you do, what you're focused on, what you're about, and really then you get into the nitty-gritty after this. So after each one of these, I am going to pause for a second. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll monitor chat tonight, And if you have any questions, please just go ahead and ask them. The whole team is going to pitch in tonight on answering those. So I'm going to keep going. And if you have any questions on this, please put them in the chat. The next thing that you want to do is you want to talk about your team. And even if it's just you, this is where you would want to put essentially like a light bio, your years of experience, what you're bringing to the table, any credentialing that you might have. This is where you would put this. If you do have a team, this is where you would list things like, president, CEO, CFO, your chief marketing officer, or whatever titles you've come up with people in your org chart. There's a little symbol of an org chart here. This is where you'd want to put that. So essentially somebody could look at this org chart and know exactly how your organization functions and how you've laid it out operationally. The other thing too, like I said, that's really important, particularly if this is a new business or you're an entrepreneur, is summarizing the years of experience in your field. So this is something that if you were to go to my website, you would see that this is what I do. I have several members of my team, and we wanted to make sure that people knew that we have a lot of collective experience across the board. And so we summarize that right on the front page of the website, saying that we collectively have 50 years of experience. So this is another area where you can do that. You really want to highlight, essentially what your team brings to the table in experience, credentials, and everything else. Market summary. So this is something that we hit. This is essentially looking at the market that you're going to be going into. You're looking at the market past, present, the future, where the market came from, certain market dynamics, what it looks like today, the way you think it's going to move in the future. A lot of times this is telling people why you're jumping into this market. Is this because it's a growing market, or it's a market that you want to disrupt? Is it an underserved market? So things like that. This is where you would put that information. So, you can include things like market share. So if you're a company that bases its progress on market share, say you have a product and you have market share goals behind that product, this is where you would talk about the market from a market share standpoint. Who are the key leaders? Who are the key players? Shifts in the market, cost, pricing, competition, everything. You would want to put that here. And then the SWOT exercise that we went through. Remember this, when we went through this exercise, you're really identifying those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is where you'd want to put some of those key those key areas on this slide, or where you'd want to make sure that you define those for individuals that you're presenting to, so that they get an understanding of what the market looks like. And then that you've kind of sliced that into what are those opportunities that you have, what are the things the strengths that you have that can help you in that market, and then what are the things that you think could threaten the marketplace, and what are the things that could be an obstacle for you. So this is where you would want to explain that. And then, of course, one of the things that we talked about that was important with that was, what are some of the mitigations, right? So a lot of times if people are presenting their SWOT to me, and they'll say, these are the threats in the market. I know that, hey, those might be market forces that there's nothing that you can really do about that. But maybe they've thought about, well, these are some things that I could insulate myself if there is a deviation in the market that we haven't accounted for. Some of the strengths that we have on our team, these are the things that we're doing to accelerate business, to accelerate what we're doing. So this is where you can talk about how you're going to leverage your strengths and really how you're going to mitigate some of your risks here. And again, if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just keep on rolling. Guys, jump in anytime if you want. Competition. So competition, pretty straightforward. Who is your competitors, right? List of competitors, whether or not you're starting, fail cakes, right? Is it going to be GG's? Cupcakes? Is it going to be Publix? Is it going to be what? So you identify who your competitors are, and a quick summary of who they are and kind of how their strength in the market. And then from there, you can say, but this is how we stack up against the competition. Here's where we think we have a competitive advantage against the competition in the market. And again, this kind of goes back to market. You've identified your strengths and weaknesses and mitigation, your competition, and then how you can have a competitive advantage against those individuals. And then the big thing, you got to get customers. You got to bring some money in, right? So you got to fill the funnel. So your customer acquisition strategy is how you're going to talk about how you're going to fill the funnel. What are those things that you're going to do from a, what is that? Spotlighted, sorry. What are the sales and marketing strategy, tactics, and initiatives that you're going to do to fill the funnel? So, for example, you're going to have a digital marketing campaign. You're going to hire salespeople. You're going to do, organic marketing. So whatever those initiatives are that you're going to do to start to fill the funnel, because when you look at your funnel, remember, you're bringing people in. That doesn't mean you're going to win them all. There's going to be a certain attrition to the individuals, the customers that you try to acquire, that you're going to get throughout, right? So you might bring in, you bring in 100%, right? And then the next stage, you're at 80, and the next and the next. And by the time you get to the bottom, you may win 20% of those. So your customer acquisition is going to be 20% of your acquisition strategy. So question about organic marketing. So organic marketing is something where, say you put something on LinkedIn, and it's just, you're not putting money behind it. It's not a paid ad. You're not doing a boost on Facebook or anything like that. You just put it out there, but you see it starting to spread. That's organic marketing. That's how you kind of get your word out there free. You just kind of put it out there. And then goals and objectives. We kind of talk through these. A good way you can do these in different increments. 30, 60, 90, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Whatever really kind of makes sense. But you want to make sure that you're doing a short term, mid-term, and a long term when it comes to looking at your goals and the milestones that you need to hit throughout the growth of your business and the startup and growth of your business. Again, remember, Bill went through this where they need to be, very specific, measurable objectives. You need to make sure that they're time bound. You need to make sure that, there's detail behind those goals. You want to acquire X by X time. You want to create X amount of sales by X time. So you want to make sure that you're using those SMART goals as you're laying out your goals and objectives. And then listing your revenue and profitability, it's really important, right? You want to make sure that as you're doing this, some businesses, they may not be profitable when they're first starting off, but you want to make sure that you're tracking that you understand that, and that's okay if that's in your business plan, that you're investing. But then you also want to have in there that, hey, at year one, though, you're going to be at a break even because you're starting to fill your funnel. And then, year and a half, you want to be at X, revenue, into that year, X revenue, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure you're doing that so you can see how you're doing against all of your goals. And of course, against your financials. As Patty always says, look at the financials, go back to the financials. Are you making money? And that takes us to the financial plan. So, this is the high level financial plan. It really defines your financial model, pricing assumptions. I saw a lot of people did this with their homework. Y'all did a great job. I got to say, the people that sent me their information did a wonderful job. A couple of us went back and forth. What was really impressive is, in a lot of these situations, it was, these are business concepts. You're having to kind of, plug and play certain numbers in there, but you really listed out all the things that you really need to focus on, which and account for, which is phenomenal. So this way, you're not going to have any real surprises as you're starting to build your financial plan. As you put that in there, remember we went through the P&L. So, if you need a refresher on that, definitely go back to that class where you want to make sure that you're accounting for all your expenses. all your cost of goods, if you have cost of goods, the sales that you expect to make, because as you build that P&L, then you want to make sure that at the bottom of that bottom line, you want to make sure it's as positive as possible. And then this is huge. We really talked about this, I think, just about in every session. It probably came up. We talked a lot about CPAs, accountants, and those resources that you're going to need. So this is where you're going to want to list out, what are the personnel that you're going to need to help you with your business, the technology, the finances, distribution, promotion, products, services. So, this is just where you need to account for all of these resources. I'm a partner in a distribution company. We distribute to the VA for certain pharmaceuticals and medical devices. And it's been an interesting journey. All of us had a background in healthcare. Only one of us had a background in distribution. Now he's got 30 years of distribution. One of the largest, McKesson was one of the largest companies in the world. But even with all that knowledge on the team, we had some things that we accounted for and some things that we learned along the way. And I'll give you an example. We bought a warehouse. We stocked the warehouse with PPE. We had people that were buying from us the PPE. We decided that we wanted to start to expand from the VA, expand into hospitals. We successfully did that with one hospital system, with a state. And then we decided we were going to start an e-store, and then we were going to start to go direct to consumer. That's when I got excited, because my background is direct to consumer. And the lift to do direct consumer with just a bunch of people with distribution knowledge was tough. It was really, really tough. And, we went on Amazon, and we were like, well, we're going to start an Amazon store. Well, if you've ever gone into, tried to sell on Amazon B2B, Amazon, for being one of the most wealthy companies in the world, they got a lot of work to do on their software. It was horrible. It was clunky. It wasn't intuitive. It was terrible. We ended up having to just find a freelancer who's really good at doing that, work with their rep, work with us, get that on there. But from the day that we said we wanted to start our direct to consumer to e-commerce, we hit so many bumps that our goal was 30 days. It took us over 60 days to go up and live, and we're still having issues. So as we went along, we didn't account for those resources. So you're going to have those bumps in the road, and you're going to have those things. But for the most part, you're able to think through the majority of what you need to support your business. That's where you'd want to put this. And then, of course, you can, that's right, Omar, it is a hassle. Oh my gosh. I have like Amazon PTSD. It's not even any joke. But you're going to be able to account for a lot. There's some things that you won't be able to account for, but hopefully in your financials, you've given yourself a little bit of buffer. We certainly did. So when we had to start to shift some funds to help supporting and getting up and running faster and better than what we were doing on our own, we had accounted for some extra spend for the year. So we were able to accomplish that. So I'd recommend, as you're going through this and you're looking at your resources, account for things that maybe are unintended that you may not even know that you'll need. And then the risk rewards, this is just a place where you can summarize the risk to your business. Again, this kind of goes back to your SWOT, but it's really taking a laser focus on those top risks that you're going to have, and then those mitigation, how you're going to mitigate, what those risks are, right? And then your expected rewards, especially if you're seeking funding. We've talked about, we had that, wonderful talk on funding and different funding channels and went through all of that. I mean, I think the big thing that I took away from that is you got to be really buttoned up, right? So if you're getting ready to lend some money, somebody wants to see, okay, they certainly understand the business, they understand the market, they understand the risk. They've done a great job of mitigating that. Nothing is without risk. They've done a good job of that, but then really look at that upside. So that's kind of how this slide would be read. This is the rewards that we're going to get. This is the profitability that we think we'll get, or the market share, or whatever it is that your goal is in the end.
Jay.
Yeah.
Rita has a question. Would Eventbrite's add-ons for merchandise be considered as a distribution channel?
That's a interesting question. I consider Eventbrite a channel, like a sales channel. I've done things on Eventbrite where I've done free things and where I've also done paid sessions on there as well. So it's not a classic distribution channel as far as if you're thinking of moving a widget through your facility and into the market. But if you're moving your service through it, I don't see why you can't consider it that. If you're talking about how you want to outline it in the business plan, I think you would just want to make sure that the person you're talking to understands what you're doing with Eventbrite from a service perspective and how you're moving your service into the customer realm using Eventbrite. Anybody else have anything you want to add to that from the team?
Yeah. I'm assuming in Rita's question that she's talking about merchandise that would be associated to an event, not the ticket for the event, but apparently ancillary merchandise. Is that correct, Rita? Yeah, then from that perspective, it would be a distribution channel for the ancillary merchandise, as well as it would be a distribution channel for tickets for the production that you are promoting.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill.
No problem.
All right. And then let me move my chat box. And then going through key issues, this is just where you can look at, near term, identifying, key decision makers, issues that need to be taken care of immediately, any kind of consequences that to those decisions. So again, this is kind of laying out your milestones. And this really ties back to when you look at your goals, there are certain decisions that you're going to have to make with those goals. And so this is where you kind of link this back, basically saying, here's what we need to address. These are key decisions that we need to make in the near term. Here's what we need to do in the long term. Be specific about these issues. Again, if you're looking at funding, funding lenders are going to be looking for specifics from you in this. Some examples of some of these decisions can be, when you are going to go direct to consumer, right? Like in my example with our customer, going to the VA was relatively straightforward. Not that working with the government's easy, but all of us, half of us on the team are veterans, and we've worked with the supply chain before, so we had some knowledge and expectations going into it. But we had very specific milestones as we were building that business and key decisions that we needed to make. One of them was, okay, now we've got enough cash flow from our VA business. We have enough inventory. We see enough demand for PPE. Is it time now that we would be able to go into the hospital? Okay, let's try it. So we did a trial. We tried a few. We got into a hospital, worked some kinks out there. Then key milestone. Now we need to bring on a salesperson. Now we need to bring on admin support. Those were other key decisions that we needed to make. We knew we wouldn't be able to move forward without them in the business or move as quickly as we wanted to. So again, this is just where you want to map those out. And then, we have longer term things that we know that we need to address. There are some federal laws that are coming that could be a threat to our business. So we need to make some decisions about, what we're going to do. Are we going to accelerate our growth in commercial? Are we going to accelerate our growth in hospital to make sure that we're insulated against anything that happens in the federal business? And the things like that, just using that as an example, that's literally what is sitting on our desk right now in that company, and how I would apply this to this slide. And that is actually all I have. So this really is a time we wanted to make sure that if there are any kind of loose questions out there, as you guys have been working through your business plan, as you guys have been working through everything, that you would have an opportunity to ask us questions. Because when we looked at the agenda, we realized that, again, this really is our last night of content. Next week's going to be all driven by our presenters. And then again, we will have some content that at the last night, but it's going to really be a wrap. So.
Yeah, let me make a general statement about your business plans as you go about developing them, particularly if you are going to be using the business plan as a basis for seeking funding. And that is, you don't want to create your business plan in a way that it looks like there are no challenges or problems of consequence in your business idea and what you're trying to accomplish. Because remember, I think I said early on in this program, the reality is that 85% of small businesses are out of business by the 5th year. And so people involved in business and lenders know that there are challenges and problems even in the best business ideas. What you want to be able to show them through your business plan is that you understand those challenges and you understand how you will go about dealing with those challenges. That'll be a strong indicator to them of the opportunity for you to be successful. And if your plan doesn't reflect any problems, their experience is going to have them know that there are problems. There are always problems. So I encourage you to really, particularly, I think back when we were talking about the SWOT risk analysis and the risk mitigation, that really demonstrates that you understand your market, the challenges, and that you've thought about what you would do when those things arise in your business.
Yeah. Question here, Edwin. I would say be as specific as you can, right? You know, some of these, everybody is in a different area right now of where you're developing your business structure. So be as specific as you can. Let me ask you one clarifying thing here. When you refer to the business structure, do you mean the team, or are you just talking about the business plan in general?
Free to come off mute if you'd like, Edwin. Okay.
Yep, business plan in general.
Yes.
Yeah, be as specific as you can, understanding that this is going to be a living, breathing document, particularly as you build.
Jay, we have a request to go back to the market summary slide for a moment.
All right.
One of the questions is, why do 85% of small businesses not open the doors after the 5th year? The answer is it's a range of reasons. In some instances, the business has been successful and it's sold. In some instances, the business owner just chooses that they want to move out of that business. The overwhelming reason, though, is that the business is not successful enough to sustain itself. It's often referred to as there's not sufficient capital. And while that's an accurate statement, I think it's a summarization because there are lots of reasons for not having enough money to cover the expenses of a business and generate a profit, like not enough sales, et cetera, et cetera. But in reality, it's all the reasons possible that 85% go out of business, but most of it is because they don't effectively handle the challenges of a business.
Yeah, I can give an example. That same company that I'm talking about, the distribution company, the CEO and a neighbor of his who's a pharmacist, both veterans, came up with this idea, but they didn't have any business planning and they had not been in corporate or anything like that where they had experience before. And so they actually almost went out of business within 6 months of going in business because they didn't have a plan. And they were spending as they came in, and they weren't accruing savings to reinvest. They were just spending. So that business actually almost went out of business before several of us came on board to help correct it. That would have been a statistic. The other thing I want to say is I got a couple of private messages about receiving business plans and financial plans. I have. If you sent something to me and haven't heard back, I will try to get to it this weekend for sure. I try to knock these out on the weekends. I got a little setback with my surgery, so I'm a little behind. But yes, I've received. If you sent me something, if you want to send it to me again to get at the top of my email pile, then please feel free to do so.
So Jay, there are a couple more questions I don't want to lose. So Lillian asked two questions. One, is this the format, talking about the business plan format, and what else works is part one of her question.
Yeah. So this is just a simple format that I've used this in the past for shorter business planning sessions like what we've done over the last 13 weeks. There are a ton out there. So you can use whatever format you want. And again, I'm just sharing this as kind of a bit of a summary and overview of what we've gone through. And for some of the folks that want to use this, just to kind of walk through it. If you want to use something else, I mean, Excel, if the SCORE website has resources, I would definitely direct you to go there. I think there's business plan templates there. So there's a whole host of different formats out there that you can certainly use.
Not to forget that Patty has posted a couple of times the business plan template on the SCORE website, so you can just go to the link. And then part two of Lillian's question is, may she see the financial plan slide again, please?
On it.
I don't think I missed any questions, anyone. If I have, feel free to either come off mute or type it.
Well, I wanted to mention that we had a really nice roundtable last night, and Bill talked to us about the difference between marketing and selling. And it was really an eye-opener for us. So I would like for him to go over that and see if that may bring up any questions or give some answers if someone is a little confused about it.
Very good. I'll be glad to do that. As I think you all know, the business that the consulting and coaching business that I had focused on small businesses. And one of the thoughts that most small business owners have is that they ought to always be selling and that they've got to sell. And I drew a distinction last night that said that's not necessarily so. And so I want to explain that and what is necessary for acquiring clients. And my point was that sales is a very technical thing, just like accounting or engineering. And it has to be executed correctly and very well for it to produce the desired result. And so selling takes a lot of training and it takes a lot of practice. And the reality is that most of us as small businesses don't have the financial resources for the amount of training it takes. And we don't have enough opportunities to practice it as frequently and as much as is needed to get expert at it. And I went on to say what I think small business owners have to be really good at to successfully acquire clients is marketing. And what marketing is in here is, think of marketing as what it takes to attract someone to your business. So that would include things like visibility, your business being visible. Then your business has to be credible or trust. And then what's offered has to be appealing to them. But you want them attracted to you. And you want them attracted to you almost to the point that they're asking you to buy it from you, as opposed to you having to depend on selling it to them. The other thing that I went on to say in that, there's something in the business that's called the buyer's journey. And basically what that describes are the stages that someone goes through in the process of making a decision to buy something. And while it's done under various terms, I'm going to talk about 3 stages, and I'm going to call the first stage interest. Okay. So they're interested in either their problem or some experience that they've had. Okay. And if you were to have a conversation with them, you'd want that conversation to be about the area of interest, not about the product that you might want to sell, because they haven't made that connection yet. The second stage is consideration. So they have this interest about something, or they know they've got a problem or something. Consideration is when they've decided they think they want to solve it, and they're interested in what are the various ways they could go about solving that problem. So let me give you an example. In the business that I was in, where I offered training and peer advisory groups and coaching, but when someone was considering what to do about growing their business, well, they considered, in addition to getting coaching or training, they also considered advertising, promotion. They haven't decided what they want to buy yet. That makes sense. Okay. And then the third stage is where selling can occur, and that's decision making. And that is the prospect has gone through the consideration stage. They've decided what it is they want to do about their problem, and that's what they're interested in buying. So for example, there was no benefit in me having a discussion about coming to a training program on business growth if the person in the consideration stage decided that what they thought they needed was advertising. I'm really not going to convince them otherwise. You with me? So the other thought is that through marketing, you can engage and interact with people in your target market at the earliest stage. And that gives you an opportunity to usher them, if you will, or be with them as they move to the decision stage. And if you are, by the time they get to the decision stage, guess who they're going to know, guess who they're going to trust, guess who's going to have credibility with them, which increases the probability that they will buy from you. And so I encourage my small business clients to not spend so much time on learning how to sell better, but to expend that time on learning how to market better or how to attract the people they want to do business with to them and their business better. Because that's where they can make a lot of distance. They can create as many opportunities so they can practice it. The skills are frankly easier than selling skills. And I say that having managed sales forces and been a salesperson for most of the 28 years I was in corporate. And it's an easier set of skills to acquire, and it's a more impactful set of skills to acquire, and they last, so to speak. The work you do with someone in the interest stage and in the consideration stage lasts because you're also developing relationship with them.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I was actually on with a client today that I've been with since April of last year, and I wish they could hear that because they are a small technology company, and I told them you need to hire a marketer before you hire your sales team. Like, let's internally look at your brand, let's get everything ready to go, and then let's start to pulse information out there. And then we can build an inside salesperson and start to really manage the funnel, and then an outside. But without that air cover, without that brand recognition, nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares. And you need to talk to your intended audience. You need to talk to your customer, your target customer. unfortunately, they feel like their technology is so cool that that'll sell itself. And they bypassed all of that. Well, recently they almost became that statistic. And so they came back and they were like, we're so frustrated. Like, we're showing this great technology to them. And I'm looking at what they're putting on LinkedIn, and I'd send them a little message. I'm like, that's not capturing anybody. That is not saying anything to anybody. That is just saying that I have software. Like, that's all you're saying. And I said, we got to get back to the basics. What's compelling? What's this? What's that? Well, they actually had tried to hire a salesperson. And they said, well, the salesperson needs to do that. And I said, no, you have no air cover for them. You have no brand. And they hired the salesperson. After 4 months, salesperson left. I was like, this is too heavy a lift. Nobody knows who we are. I can't get past the gatekeeper in the door. And I think if they heard what you were talking about and applied that, they wouldn't be where they are today, where they're asking, they're bringing in me and 4 other consulting companies to try to save their business from being in that statistic. Had they just followed that roadmap and the roadmap that we've talked about here, they wouldn't be in that situation.
Marketing is the relationship piece. It's what are you doing to make the customer know and value what you have to sell. The actual process of selling or sales is the transaction that occurs and how that function happens after the person has decided to buy from you. So just putting it in a different language for those who may interpret differently.
Yeah, I always felt like if you're doing a good job of marketing, people are almost getting to know you and who you are, and you go back to that values and all that stuff that we worked on at the beginning. They really enjoy getting to know kind of who you are through your brand, and there becomes that trust and that openness and willingness to then hear what you have to say, and then you're also top of mind when they are ready to buy, if they get to that point.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add to that. For most small businesses, your brand is your reputation.
Yes.
Okay, your brand is your reputation. And the reason that very large businesses spend tremendous amounts of money and expertise on brand is because they're not a person. They can't interact with people. Their employees do. But for most of us as small businesses, it's your reputation that does for your business what brand does for large businesses.
A lot of interesting points here. Since we're on this topic and before we leave it, Sybil asked, everyone keeps telling me that, how do you know? Sybil, I think you were referencing to the relationship piece. Everyone's not your customer. It's a skill that's developed. Let's see, like turning some customers away if you get a bad feeling. Sorry, we can't work together. Yes, there's a values piece that I have evolved to around who I work with or not. It's not a judgment, it's a value. And I love the way Amber said it. It's not for you. And so just saying, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. This just doesn't seem like a good fit for me at this time. And even if you know someone who may be, you could make the referral. And if you don't, you've got to learn to say no, because it's important to understand that if you're not feeling good about it, chances are that relationship is going to turn sour at some point anyway. And it is a partnership.
Yeah, so I want to expand on that. Most of the business for a small business will come to that business through word of mouth. Don't necessarily confuse that with only referrals. There are many forms of word of mouth. Word of mouth and referrals are a function of relationship, not merit. It's a mistake we make in business all the time. We think people send people to us because our product is so great. No, they send people to you out of their relationship with you. And you can have relationships with people in your target market that never buy from you. But you will get referrals, you will get people sent to you by people that have never done business with you or your company. They know you, they like you, they have respect for you, you're credible, they trust you, and they have every reason to think that that's the way you do business.
And Bill, I would like to say in healthcare, there's some other considerations, like Sybil is a nurse. So in healthcare, we're accustomed to working with whomever shows up on the doorstep. Whatever it is they need, we do that for them because that is our job. We take whatever they bring us and we try to make it better. But as a business owner, even though you're in healthcare, there are some clients that you just cannot work with. Yeah. And over the years, I crafted the perfect statement. I told them, I cannot do the kind of job for you that I would like to do. So I'm going to refer you to someone else because I can't meet my quality standard if I work with you. So I totally own that. And I didn't tell them there was anything wrong with them. I let them think I just wasn't capable of doing it. And that was true. So if you will use that, and any of you can use that.
That's right.
There are some people you just can't work with them because they're going to drain your business, drain your resources. You'll be frustrated. So you may, in healthcare, you'll probably take them and work with them for a while. But when you get to a point where you're there, you gracefully bow out. Give them whatever termination time you need to give them to get their act together and go someplace else. And immediately you will feel better. I always did.
Yes. I made the mistake, Patty, early on where, well, I would say is you can trust your gut too, right? I had somebody approach me and I just didn't feel good about it. I felt like it was going to be a little too high maintenance, a little too much, a little too, they weren't going to listen. I didn't really know why they were bringing me in if they weren't going to listen, you know. And I talked to a mentor of mine. A mentor said, "Oh, yeah, you're going to run into that in consulting. Just increase the fee. Call it a pain in the butt fee." And don't say that to them, of course, but that's what you call it, right? So I went back with some higher pricing, and they were like, "Great, done," you know. And I was like, "Okay." It was not worth it. It was not worth it. The headache, the phone calls, the pride of trying to do a really good job, and then have somebody just, I mean, it just wasn't worth it. And from then on, I love your statement. I'm going to take that statement. From then on, I've had to pass on things, but you get a gut feel, kind of going back to the question, when do you know? I think you can trust your gut too.
Yes. And Patty, that is a great statement. Can you repeat it? And I'm going to try to type it in here as you repeat it because several people have asked for you to repeat it.
Okay. I would tell them, I cannot do the kind of job for you that is up to my standard of quality. That's basically what I said, and you can rephrase that. But I was letting them know that if I try and work with you, I'm not going to meet my own standards. So I know I'm not going to meet yours.
Did you trademark that?
No, I didn't, but I used it.
It's out there now.
Okay. Everybody feel free to use it. It took me a lot of frustration. And I was like, I've got to fire these people, but I need to say it in the right way.
Yep.
So there were a couple of more questions that I want to go back to so that we don't get them. Talitha, I did not forget you. So Talitha wanted you to go over the competition summary again. And she would like to know if you should list your prices, years of services, etc.
For the competition?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm on the competition slide. Anything you know about the competition that would be relevant is something that I would map out. I mean, you don't necessarily have to put it on this slide, but for me, I know like roughly what people are charging. I want to make sure that from a pricing sensitivity, pricing model that I'm in the market. Yeah, I mean, number of employees. I mean, when you're doing it for real, it's like number of employees, years of experience, market share, who's dominant, stack rank them. I mean, any information that you can get that's going to be important and relevant to you and your business, I would try to obtain if you can.
Thank you. And I see that Marianne put a different version in. I do not have the skills level that will help you at this time. I can, however, refer you to who is better skilled in this area. That's a great one, and you're welcome. Also, Dr. Kirk Dugan had a question about distinguishing between products and services, or versus services.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Angie.
I just was going to clarify. I think this was in reference to when Bill was talking about sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it was in reference to that, the points I was making about that are no different for product or service. That's the whole answer, actually.
One thing I think about is the different businesses that I work with. I mean, some straight up products. We make a widget, we distribute it and sell it to the end user, and but the consulting business is a service. Like I'm not leaving a widget other than any material that we've developed together, right? Like is yours, but the bulk of the profit is your time, and you're selling your service. So that's how sometimes I tend to look at it, that you're buying services, advisory services, consulting services versus a product. Now, you probably could consider like a workshop, or, if somebody is doing like say leadership sessions or something like that, maybe you could consider that a product, but
to your point, the services are being exchanged for hours, for dollars. But when I think about products, publications, or web-based trainings, things of that nature, just for my own distinction. But I wanted to also reference the point back to Dr. Kirk Dugan. When I think about selling services, I see it as maybe a harder sell when you think about it is a human being who can only do but so much. And there's this thing called capacity. Patty and I have this conversation from time to time. But when you are a new business, and I'm not going to say small anymore because one of our teammates said that we should say thriving or something. So when you're growing a thriving business in its early growth stages, it is a lot of demand on you as the everything to that business. And as you grow and get your business model stood up, as Bill so eloquently outlined, and you finally get your sales team on board, you've done everything yourself to know that business. And so when I think about a product, though, I write a book or some training materials, or I create hand sanitizer, whatever that product is. Once I get it produced and it's something that people want, I feel like replicating the production of that as a item or tangible thing is much different than the intangible. I also think about the intangible really is based on the value. There are people right now, as wonderful as this whole coaching thing has become and diversified from just executives to life, health, and we could go on and on. There are many people who do not value coaching because they don't see it as a tangible thing. I can't touch it, feel it. I can't see the difference you're going to make in my employee. So that's not for me. So those are just some things that come to mind to me when I think about that distinction in selling it. So I think about, I have a product or service to offer you. This is what it is. I know what I'm good at. If you're interested, we can talk. If you're not, I respect you for that as well. I'd be happy for you to refer me to someone else if you ever have the opportunity, and you keep it moving.
And also, Dr. Angie, when you're talking about being a consultant, that's where you are building relationship. Just as Bill said, that is your primary goal. That's what you're trying to do. You're building those relationships. You're putting yourself out as an expert in whatever way that is. Now, when you get that first client, you're going to have to do the best job possible, because that is going to be your next referral. And also, for some of you, if you're doing a service-based business and there are people referring clients to you, you need to go back to that referral source and let them know what happened with that client. Make them feel good about giving you that client and that you did exactly what you said, and follow up with them. And that will keep you in their mind and in their memory, and they'll send you more, because everybody wants to feel good. If I refer somebody to Jay and they come back to me and they say, oh, Jay did such a great job, I'm going to do that again, because I'm going to get a good feeling that my judgment was good and that I made the right decision and put the right people together. So just be mindful of that. Whatever business you're in, that you get a referral and you know where it came from, and you should track that. Go back and develop that relationship, and it'll keep them coming. Some of you are asking how to track a referral. Anytime a customer comes into your business, you should create some type of a profile on that client. And one of the things that you should try to find out is, how did they find you?
How did you get here? Right.
I mean, if they call me on the phone, I was like, how did you find out about us? And they'll say, oh, well, there's a lady next door, she's getting help, or I was looking at this and I saw it, or I saw a brochure here. You want to know that, so that then that helps you with it, knowing if your marketing is effective or not. So that's certainly a great tool. Every business can have that type of tool to know where their clients came from. Now, how you track them in an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, I think I've told you all this before. I ran my whole business with Excel spreadsheets. Every time I came up with something I wanted to track, I would go ... And that's what I did. But it was so comforting for me to look at that sheet and have a full view of what I needed and what was important to me. So I had express sales sheet for employees, clients, doctors. I had all of that, but it felt like it was something I could control because there were so many. Yeah, so Excel is great. I know they have lots of CRMs that you all can use today, but I never looked for any of that. That Excel spreadsheet was working for me. So
yeah, I've tried CRMs because, coming from sales, I had Salesforce, right? I had Viva, all these different CRM systems out there. What you don't realize is that what you see in those big, if you're working for a big company, they've paid, $1 million and $2 million for. What you can get as a small business in their free version, it's clunky. It's right. It's for the masses. Honestly, Patty, I'm the same way. I run everything through Excel. Financials have formulas, things go in there. People know you can share it. So now with my employees, everybody goes to that same Excel document in the cloud and updates it properly. What I would say is keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Use what tools you have. Just make sure it's something that you can use simply and it's sustainable.
I will add though,
the Swiss Army knife of business.
Yeah,
that's true.
I will add though that we looked at recently MailChimp, Salesforce, and another app called Dubsado. What I love about Dubsado of the three is it has a built-in client portal. So to your point, Patty, every client that we get, we put them in the client portal in Dubsado. Everything that we send them, so we're either consulting them or coaching them or training them. So all the presentations, all the assessments, all the materials that we provide for them are in there. Meanwhile, in the back office of Dubsado, and it's spelled Dubsado, I'll put it in the chat in a second, but it also helps you document work processes. So when we do the first retreat, we get to document the steps, what we did, and then we can debrief what went well, what didn't go well. And then we have a model. So the next retreat, we can use this same material. This is really going to be very helpful for you who are providing services, because now you can have more time to take on more clients and not outgrow the capacity piece. I do encourage you to look at it. You know, a person on my team introduced me to it, and I absolutely love Dubsado.
We have a couple of questions in here. Let's see. One from Catherine about hire weakness, hire integrity over skill. My company is going to hire a CNA. How to do the phone call video chat to find out their integrity. How can I convince them to work with my company? I think, you know, I'll take a stab at this first, and then Patty, I know this is in your wheelhouse, but you know, I interview people over video like this, you know, and I handle it just the same way there'd be a face to face. You know, I'm looking for, and I require video when we're going to do it. So, you know, if they're seeking employment or seeking, you know, something, you know, with a client or whatever, I make sure that I can read their expressions, that I can. Did they come prepared? You know, I mean, I'm not asking for people to be in a suit or anything like that, but you know, you can still have a very, very formal interview, an impactful interview using video with people. And I think just the last part, and this is just my opinion, but you know, I'm not ever trying to maybe convince people to work with my company. I know that sounds weird, but they need to be the right fit. You know, I would never beg somebody to work, you know, for the company. I would hope that they would see it as a mutual, that, you know, what I have to offer, what the company has to offer, what we're doing means so much to them that I'm not having to convince them, because, you know, to a point, interviews need to go both ways. They're feeling you out, you're feeling them out. But I think if that magic isn't happening, then, you know, move on. I would, I guess that would just be my advice, Patty.
Well, Jay, she's in a highly competitive business for employees. So she needs a hook, some type of a hook. Now, child, when you see them on the video and you interview them, there are certain things you're going to see. Even when I would bring them into the office, I'd talk to them and get a certain impression, and I thought I knew who I was hiring. And then they may not even show up on the job when I gave them the assignment. I was always shocked at some of the things that would happen. So you're in a very volatile situation with employees. And it doesn't matter whether you saw them or what you thought about them. Now, you're doing an extensive background check, so you're going to know quite a bit about them before you actually send them to work and you talk to them. But that's just going to be trial and error each time. And some of the ones you think that are not going to work out, they may be some of the best ones. It's just really hard. But as far as getting them to work for your company, just always be honest with them, be good to them, and treat them the best that you can and communicate. That's what you're going to have to do. All of them are not going to buy it. Some of them are going to be looking for something else, or they won't receive what you're giving them, and you want them to go away quickly. So don't try to hold someone that's not for your company.
Yeah, one of the things all of us as business owners need to, that it helps to be aware of, is that when it comes to people selection, interviewing is the least effective selection tool that there is. Sometimes you can't afford to use other selection tools along with an interview. But you want to know that when you're interviewing, the chances are higher that you're going to hire the wrong person than they are that you're going to hire the right person. And one of the things I encourage business owners to do, if they can, is to figure out a way to hire two people on a provisional basis, so that if they were wrong, they don't have to start all over again. And even if they can't afford to hire two, they ought to interview enough people that if they could afford to hire two, they would. So again, if the one they hire is the wrong one, they don't have to start all over again. They'd have someone else they could call and offer the job to.
I love the comment Dr. Bradell made, hire slow and fire fast.
Absolutely.
One of my best mentors taught me that.
Yep.
Early on.
Did we
It's
get
really
everyone's
hard.
questions? I'm sorry, Patty, go ahead.
It's really hard to fire someone, even though I knew I had to do it. I agonized over it every time. I was like, I'm going to give them another chance. I'm going to give them another chance. And then I would just get to a point where I would say, this is the day. If I don't have anybody to do anything else, it won't be you anymore. That's what I would tell myself. But I had to work through that because I didn't want to put anyone out without a job. But I'm like, if they couldn't do right by this job and by this company, they have to go. But I just couldn't do it right on the first whim. I had an office person that, oh my, she was just going downhill badly. And it took me almost 3 months to fire her. And I finally did it because it had me so worked up. You know, I was like, no, she has to go because I can manage until I get someone else, but I cannot do this with her anymore. And I just went to the office and I just did it. And I felt an immediate release because I should have done it a lot sooner. So that is the correct way, Dr. Bradell. That's what you should do. But that's still very hard for me.
It is.
Yeah, I would give people chances, right? I mean, make sure that you were very clear, very transparent. If it was a training issue, or if they felt like it was a training issue, or something like that, okay, provide the training. But you know, I always felt like if I'm starting to put more into their career than they are, then, and I was transparent along that journey, then I knew that I had, you know, working for a big company, you got to HR hurdles, you've got, you know, you got to be really buttoned up. But when it came to that time that you're at Patty, you know, it wasn't a surprise to them. And my thing for my leaders was never have it be a surprise for your people. And I always made sure they were doing the same thing. Because we had some people that it was a training issue, or it was they were better in a different position, and they would thrive. I mean, I remember, you know, one person was in sales. They were a better marketer naturally. We moved them to marketing, and they ended up being like marketer of the year a year later. I mean, you know, so that's somebody that, you know, you'll be thoughtful about people, but, you know, at some point you kind of have to have in your mind, all right, you know, I've given you all these chances. I've given you resources. It's time to move on. Sometimes they'll thank you, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what Professor Omar referenced. Firing also helps the employee examine themselves, which could be the push they need to be a better employee down the road. It's a win-win. And then I said, and whatever you do, start a documentation trail the minute you start to think, feel, see that it's a wrong fit, regardless of the reason. Then you know, it's fact-based and you're not terminating them on emotion.
I think there's some things for small business owners that are different.
Yeah.
You don't have to document anything as a small business owner. Because this is an at-will state. what you do want to do, I think, is you want to practice firing somebody. Because if you hire people, you're going to hire the wrong person at some point, and you're going to need to do that. Having to fire someone is not necessarily the result of a mistake. It's a normal occurrence in business. And if you're like a lot of small businesses, if you're not careful, you'll have an employee that's not working out. And when you look at your financials, you'll figure out that you're paying them more than you're making. And that doesn't work.
No matter how you figure it, Bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to that end, you want to be at peace with yourself, because this is your, in a sense, this is your baby. This is something that you birthed, and you want to be at peace every time you're walking into the office. You don't want to walk in and say, what fire will I have to put out today? What kinds of things am I going to encounter? How will it affect me? Because this is really me. Even though the employee may make the mistake, it reflects upon you. And so your integrity is at stake no matter what you do. So I think it's very important that it's true. You hire slow and you fire quickly so that you live at peace. Your business will stay above board, and your integrity, because that's all it is, especially when it's your company. Your integrity is what's at stake. So you want to make sure that if people are not going to be integrous when they're working with and for you, then you've got to let them go. And in a sense, it's like when you're getting rid of the clutter in your house, what do? You get a black bag so you can't see what you put in the bag. So when you're doing that, it's almost like you put blinders on your eyes so you don't see who that person is. You're looking at what's not happening in the company, and you want to make sure you keep what's supposed to happen in the company. And what's not supposed to happen is like you're decluttering, you pop it in.
Well,
I'll tell you, I've never fired a bad person. I've fired people that couldn't get the job done.
Exactly.
And
So it's the job.
Yeah,
it's not the person. It's nothing about them.
Not about the person.
It's what they can or cannot accomplish.
Most of the people I fired, I liked a lot.
Likewise, and it is a tough decision. I never thought about having practiced it, but having done it so many times, it's definitely, for me, what I say, the self-talk I have is, yes, this person does have a family, and yes, they're going to lose an income, but it's a two-way street. And when we sign the dotted line for you to come and work, regardless of what capacity, we're trading time for money. And if you're not doing it, then perhaps I'm doing it, and I'm not paying you if I'm doing your job. So I appreciate that. I saw a question here. So Lillian asked, how many pages are required for the business plan to be taken seriously?
So I don't think there's necessarily a number that I would put on it as much as the content, just making sure that the content is there. And every business plan that I've seen, it's kind of like when the professor says you got a 8-page paper to do, and you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to 8 pages? And then you start getting really great content. Next thing you know, you're at 12, and the professor said no more than 10, and you're like, oh my goodness. I think, as you build it, as long as the content's really good and it's relevant and it's explaining what it is you're setting out to do with all those kind of key points that we've gone through, you'll be fine. And
I would add the Canvas model, Lillian, if you Google that, it's a 1-page model. It has 9 categories that essentially equals your table of contents in your business plan. And yep. By the time you write that out with backup detail to that canvas, you're going to end up with that 8 to 10 pages, 12 max. I know that the days of 20, 30 page business plans are long gone.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to do is you're going to fill in the blanks. If you did that business plan and you took it to a banker and they, probably read through it before you get there, then they'll ask questions. So if you put that plan together, which all of you have been doing, you should be able to fill in the blanks on any questions that they have. Ms. Bennett spoke to us about that in detail. She said, if you get an accountant to put together your business plan, make sure you know what's in it and make sure you know what you're signing up for. Because when I did my business plan, I was working, but I worked on that business plan for 4 months because I needed to know everything about what I was getting into. I knew what kind of work it was going to take, the timing, I knew all of that. And so it was teaching me all of those things as I put it together. So that's what a good business plan does for you. It lines up your plan going forward. And as Angie said, 10, 12, 15 pages, that's really enough because you have the rest of that knowledge. And I mentioned before, when you go before a bank or someone, you go there and be prepared to stand in your truth with your business plan and let that banker know that you can do what you put on paper, that you're going to give it all you've got. You thought it through and that you're up for the task.
I didn't see any more questions.
Yeah, just a lot of great comments and back and forth. There was a statement earlier about missing the group and missing these classes. And I think Patty and I both put in there that there is a plan. We would like to get everybody back together as kind of this cohort. Maybe after a few months into the new year, we've talked about bringing everyone back because we'd love to see what's happened. So we're going to be talking about what that looks like. And maybe that's more of a session where you guys are sharing than we are, and just to see where you are in your journey, any things that you've run into, any best practices that you've built along the way. Because hopefully throughout this, maybe you've had opportunities to meet each other, or particularly in the breakout, in Bill's sessions. There's definitely a core group there. So hopefully you've shared information throughout here, because one of the things we'll be talking about, your support system, and you guys can be there because you've now gone through a journey together, right? And so you can be that support system for each other in this cohort. So, but we do have plans to bring everybody back together because, we have certainly had a great time doing this, and I know we all want to see how everybody's doing. So we'll be doing that.
And also, even with bringing you all back together, we are going to offer additional content at some point in 2021. We're going to look at what the needs of the marketplace are for a small business. And we're going to come back with a course or two. It won't be 13 weeks, it'll be shorter, but we promise it'll be really good content. We've learned a lot doing this. So we want to bring you all back together. I think someone mentioned in one of the chat messages that marketing may be one, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Because everybody has some issues with marketing, whether they're doing services, products, or whatever. That may be one of the ones that we really drill down on in a 4-week course. Not saying that's what we'll do, but we're gonna do, because we've got the overview and we've recorded everything. So you can always go in there and pull out, the things that you have as a weakness. But we're gonna look back at this and see where we really need to go with that, be it marketing, competition, whatever, because with the marketing piece, that's something that can really get you stuck. You get everything all set up, you've got your business all stacked up, the house is ready, the papers are ready, and then you're like, oh, what do I do now? I'm having clients say that to me now. They got their home care license, they're ready to go, and they're like, I have no idea what I need to do next. So that's just one business. So there's plenty of businesses that need that. And there are other things too. And we'll be working with Dr. Wood in the School of Business, and they'll let us know what things they think we need to target. But we want to bring you what you really need that's going to help you to further your business as you go along. And hopefully we'll have at least 2 sessions in 2021, and where we'll have another class with content.
Patty, there's a question. Can I share my business plan even if I didn't do a presentation? So I think this person is looking for a review perhaps.
You mean like next week when it's time for us to meet?
I think the person is saying, can they share it by sending it in, not to present, but to be reviewed by someone?
Yes, you can send it to me and I'll probably ask Bill or Jay or someone to help with that.
Yep.
So if you'd like to do that, if you want someone to look at your business plan, send it to me and then we'll pick someone to look at it for you, or we'll do it together. I think we already have one that we're doing that with.
And then
it's sent to me already.
And then there was a cosign on, would love to see marketing content. And while we're talking about the future and the fact that we're getting close to wrapping up this series or session, for those of you who have been here the majority of the time, if you have been signing in as iPhone or a phone number and you would like to receive a certificate of participation, we will need your name as you would like for it to appear on the certificate and your email address in order to get that to you. A couple of people this evening, I did privately message you. You either have been signing in with a first name only or some descriptive that has not helped us identify that. Some of you have responded back. We appreciate that. We will go through this chat. So when you sign out this evening, please make sure that you provide your full name and email address, particularly if you haven't ever throughout. Many of you, I kind of know your names now because you've been so consistent. So it's just a few of you, but we certainly want everyone to have the opportunity to be recognized for your commitment and participation.
And for the next session, that's where we're going to have at least 5 of you present your business plan to the group. We will be in touch with you over the next week or so to tell you, if you go first or second or whatever, and just to be sure that you have your content tight so that you stay within your 12 to 15 minutes and that we can ask questions. I've already emailed each one of you and given you the template if you choose to use it. For the rest of you, the template is in the resource packet. I put that in the chat tonight. And what I'd like for the rest of you to do is go ahead and put your plan together to the best of your ability over the next 2 weeks.
Right.
And even though you're not presenting, bring your plan and follow through it, because you can learn a lot about things you need to add, or there will be, an option for you to ask questions, and just start to get your plan in a finished kind of way and use those sessions to complete it or to get any issues worked out. So go to the resource pack, get the template, and work on your plan also as if you're going to present it. We have a couple of alternates that we'll probably present to because something may happen, or we built in some time. So we may have room for another 1 or 2, and we do have someone that's raised their hand for that. So, but be ready, just be ready. And it may be that we get to an area where, say we're talking about competition, and you may have a plan where you've done an excellent job on your competition. We may ask you to share that with the group. So just be prepared when you come on December 3rd, because I'm just really feeling good about what everyone has learned. We've learned a lot, and I think you all have too. So I feel like we're in really good shape, and that we should have a really good session next week. And email us, let us know if there's anything that you need, but just go ahead and be prepared with your plan as if you're going to present it, because at some point you will present it someplace.
Beautiful.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Dr. Wood, any comments or anything?
Just want to say good night to everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. It's been a wonderful session as always. And I am looking forward to seeing those presentations in 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Yes.
And we got you down for a certificate.
Me, Dr.
You've been here almost the whole time. Yes.
I don't think I missed this. I think I have perfect attendance.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Dr. Omar, you got anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is a beautiful resource. I want hopefully the people that are on here understand that the amount of expertise and knowledge that is being shared here is humbling, and it's very good. I've Miss Patty Williams has helped me tremendously with my classes. Some other folks from SCORE have helped me as well. So I really thankful that this resource is here. And I just think it's great. I want to just commend everyone here, all of you guys, for your commitment and work, because a lot of times the work that you do is not given credit, but this is awesome. I mean, I can listen to this type of stuff all day, so I'm kind of a nerd about this, but this is great. And I want to encourage you, you guys continue to do this for folks, because I know you're busy in your day-to-day business, but this is awesome. I mean, I'm telling you, it's very awesome. It's invaluable work. And even for me, you know, I've learned a lot that's going to help me. And so this type of discourse is invaluable. It's great for this community, and we hope to continue to be a part of it, and anything we can do at Shaw to help continue this effort, I'm all for it, because this is just great. This is great. And so happy holidays to everyone as well. So, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, because this is something we need to all be proud of being a part of. So thank you.
Thank you. Shaw University has made all the difference.
You know.
Dr. Angie, will you talk about your survey? Are you still going to do a survey?
Yes, we are doing a survey. We will have the survey available for the next session. It'll be a link, and that way, if you're not able to complete it that day real time, when we do our follow-up email to you, your input is invaluable. And while we appreciate all the wonderful accolades that continue to come in, and the encouragement, this is for you. What we're doing is from our hearts to yours. Most of us are servant leaders and are really here to make a difference. And this is our give back to the community, to other entrepreneurs. And so we want you to be real with us and be truthful. If there were things that you didn't like, things that we could have done better, things that we could have done differently, maybe you have other subject matter experts that you would like to see participate. Maybe you want more guest speakers. Maybe you want a different format. Give it to us. We view feedback as a gift. Any opportunity to know better and do better is to be better. And so, yes, we'll get the survey out to you by December 3rd, and we'll go from there. Thanks for reminding me, Patty.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. This has been great. We're really looking forward to December 3rd. And Sybil's talking about tears, so I think we need to go before they start.
Up next is Session 12. In Session 12, a few of the program participants have volunteered to present their business plan to their cohort and the program facilitators. We are excited to witness their success and stand ready to provide feedback. We have no doubt they will deliver. The final session of this 13-week program is now open for registration. Simply go to www.raleigh.score.org. Click on the tab Take a Workshop and register today. As a program note, due to the Thanksgiving holiday, Session 12 will commence on December 3rd at 6 p.m. Please be safe over the Thanksgiving holiday, and be safe in your travels.
Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yeah, wonderful
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Be safe.
We couldn't
Enjoy
do
your
it without you
Thanksgiving.
guys. Take
Yes,
care.
definitely be safe. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Lillian. Bye.